The trade hub of Karos was noisy and dangerous, filled with travelers from every corner of the galaxy. Ships hovered above the metallic spires, merchants shouted their prices, and strange scents hung thick in the air. Humans were rare here, and Alex, a lone explorer, knew better than to draw attention. He walked quietly through the market, trying not to make eye contact. Most aliens ignored him, though a few stared with curiosity or suspicion. He was used to it. On most worlds, humans were small compared to the towering species that filled the galaxy. But then he saw her. At the edge of the square, a figure rose above the crowd, a giantess. She was easily 3 times his height, her armor gleaming under the suns. Her hair, like strands of molten copper, fell down her back. Her presence parted the crowd. Aliens gave her space, whispering her name in awe. Alex tried not to stare, but something about her struck him. She wasn't just powerful. She was beautiful in a terrifying way. Before he could stop himself, the words slipped out, soft but audible. "You look incredible." The market fell silent. Heads turned. The giantess stopped mid-step and looked down at him. Her eyes glowed like molten gold, locking onto the small human who had dared speak. The crowd held its breath. Alex realized too late what he had done. Compliments were dangerous in alien cultures. What was harmless on Earth could mean challenge, insult, or worse somewhere else. His pulse quickened, his mouth dry. The giantess knelt, her shadow falling over him. Her voice was deep, resonant, carrying weight like thunder. "You have spoken the words," Alex blinked. Sorry? I didn't mean..." She cut him off. "In my people's law, to call a warrior incredible is no small thing. It is a vow, a recognition, a bond." The crowd gasped. Whispers rippled. He invoked the right. A human? Impossible. Alex raised his hands quickly. No, you misunderstand. It was just polite, a compliment." But the giantess's expression was unyielding. "There is no just in the right. You have honored me. Now you must do your duty." Alex's heart sank. "Duty? What duty?" She stood, towering above him, her voice ringing across the market. "To stand by my side, to fight beside me, to share my path until death. That is the law of the Cathari." The market erupted in shouts. Some laughed at the absurdity. Others looked on in shock. A human bound to a Cathari giantess? "Impossible," Alex whispered under his breath. "All this because I said she looked incredible? You've got to be kidding me." The giantess reached down and wrapped her massive hand around him, not crushing but firm enough that he could not escape. She lifted him easily as though he weighed nothing, and placed him on her shoulder like a child. "From this moment," she declared, "you are bound. You are mine. Do not resist, human, or you will dishonor us both." Alex sat frozen, clinging to her armor as the crowd cheered or jeered. His mind raced. He had come here for trade, for supplies, nothing more. And now he was trapped in some ancient alien tradition he barely understood. As the giantess strode from the market, Alex leaned close to her ear, his voice desperate. "Listen, I didn't mean any of this. I just thought you looked nice, okay? That's all." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "And that, human, is why you cannot escape. Few have dared to speak so boldly. You will learn the weight of your words." Hours later, Alex found himself in a Cathari war camp outside the city. Towering warriors trained with massive weapons, their chants shaking the ground. Fires burned high, casting shadows across the tents. The giantess set him down in front of her kin. They looked at him with suspicion, some with laughter. "A human? Bound to Lady Kaelin?" One scoffed. "He will break within a day," another sneered. But Kaelin silenced them with a glare. "He spoke the words, 'He is mine,' and he will prove himself." Alex rubbed his temples. This has to be some kind of nightmare. Kaelin crouched before him, her golden eyes burning with intensity. "Do not fear, little one. You gave me a compliment. Now you will give me your loyalty, and in return I will give you glory." Alex groaned. "All this because I said you looked incredible?" Unbelievable. But deep inside he knew there was no easy escape. The Cathari believed in tradition above all else. To break the right was to invite death, not just for him, but dishonor for her. And so, with nothing more than a polite compliment, Alex's fate had been sealed. The Cathari camp was alive with noise, metal clashing, voices booming, war drums echoing across the valley. Alex sat awkwardly on a log far too big for him, his legs dangling like a child's. Around him, the giants sparred with weapons that looked more like siege engines than swords. Each swing could split a tree in two. He muttered to himself, And I'm supposed to keep up with this? Great, just great. Lady Kaelin, the giantess who had claimed him, approached with her armor glinting in the firelight. The warriors parted for her, their respect clear. She gestured toward Alex. This is the human who spoke the words. Laughter erupted. A massive Cathari male pounded his chest. That tiny thing? His bones will snap before he lifts a blade. Another sneered. He's barely the size of a child. How can such a weakling honor our traditions? Alex stood, trying to keep his voice calm. Listen, I didn't mean to speak your magic words. I was being polite. That's all. But the Cathari didn't care. To them, words were law. Kaelin's voice cut through the jeers. He is bound. He will face the trials as all warriors must. If he fails, the shame falls not only on him, but on me. Do you think I would allow dishonor? The camp fell silent. No one dared challenge her authority. She turned to Alex, her golden eyes unblinking. You will be tested tonight. Alex's stomach dropped. Tested, as in, fight those guys who are 3 stories tall? Her lips curved into a faint smile. No, you will fight me. The ground shook as she stepped into the sparring ring, her shadow stretching long in the firelight. Alex stared up at her, mouth dry. You're kidding, he said weakly. This is some kind of joke, right? Like hazing the new guy? Kaelin's voice was steady. No joke. You gave the right. You claimed me as incredible. Now prove you meant it. Show your courage. The crowd roared in approval, stomping the ground until dust rose in clouds. Alex groaned. Fantastic! Compliment a giantess and get murdered in front of her friends. What a day! The duel began with a thunderous drumbeat. Kaelin held back, her strikes deliberate and slow, as if testing him. Still, each swing of her wooden staff was like a falling tree. Alex dodged frantically, rolling in the dirt, his heart pounding. You move quick for something so small, she remarked, amused. Yeah, Alex gasped. Survival instinct. Comes standard with humans. The crowd laughed, though some still jeered. Kaelin's next strike slammed into the ground inches from him, leaving a crater. The force threw him backward, tumbling into the dust. His ribs ached, his arms shook, but he forced himself up. Still standing? She asked. He spat dirt from his mouth. Barely. Minutes passed, Alex weaving and dodging, never landing a blow but refusing to stay down. The Cathari expected him to quit, to cower. But he didn't. Every time Kaelin knocked him into the dirt, he dragged himself up again. Panting, bruised but alive, finally, he stumbled forward with nothing but desperation and swung his tiny fist against her armored leg. The strike did nothing except make the crowd roar with laughter. Kaelin looked down at him, her expression unreadable. Why keep fighting, human? You cannot win. Alex wiped blood from his lip, meeting her gaze with defiance. Because where I come from, we don't quit just because the odds suck. We keep going, even if it's stupid. For the first time, Kaelin's eyes softened. She lowered her weapon and raised her voice. Enough! The camp fell silent. She pointed to Alex, still swaying on his feet. Look at him. Weak in body, yes, but not in spirit. He does not yield. He is Cathari in heart, if not in blood. The warriors grumbled but nodded, some with reluctant respect. Kaelin crouched beside Alex, her massive hand hovering near his shoulder. You have passed the first trial, not by strength but by will, and that is enough. Alex dropped to the dirt, groaning. That's your idea of enough? I think I broke everything that isn't broken already. The crowd laughed again, but this time not with cruelty. Kaelin lifted him gently, setting him on her shoulder once more. Her voice was quiet, meant only for him. You may be small, human, but you have courage. That is why the right chose you. Alex sighed, leaning against her neck, exhausted. I'm starting to hate that compliment more every second. But deep inside, as the camp chanted his name awkwardly in their thunderous voices, he felt something stir, a spark of pride. For the first time, he wasn't just an outsider. He was part of something larger, even if it was insane. The Cathari believed every victory, no matter how small, was followed by a feast. That night, torches lined the camp as drums echoed through the hills. Great slabs of alien meat roasted over massive fires, the air thick with spice and smoke. Cathari warriors gathered in a circle, their booming voices singing chants of honor. Alex sat cross-legged on the edge of a log as wide as a road, staring at a plate that looked more like a battlefield. Chunks of meat the size of his torso glistened with grease, and beside them lay bowls of glowing purple fruit that oozed juice like molten lava. The smell was both delicious and terrifying. Kaylin sat across from him, her golden eyes watching. This is the feast of warriors. To eat is to prove your place. If you turn it away, they will call you coward. Alex swallowed hard. Do they have, maybe, a kid's menu? Something less likely to explode my stomach? She smirked faintly. No. The first warrior bit into a slab of meat, tearing it apart with teeth like steel. Blood and fat ran down his chin as he roared with satisfaction. The others followed, pounding their fists and chanting. Then all eyes turned to Alex. The eldest warrior leaned close, his breath hot and sour. Eat, little human, or crawl back to your world of weaklings. Alex stared at the meat. It was bigger than him, practically an alien cow on a plate. He poked it with his knife, it barely dented the surface. Muttering to himself, he cut a tiny strip and shoved it into his mouth. The flavor exploded like fire and smoke, so strong it nearly knocked him out. His eyes watered, his throat burned. He coughed hard, clutching his chest. The Cathari roared with laughter. Too strong for him. He will choke before the night is done. Kaylin's voice cut through the noise. Enough. He fights, he eats. Let him prove himself. Alex forced himself to swallow, slamming his tiny fist on the table. Delicious, he croaked. Got any hot sauce? The crowd erupted in laughter again, but this time some of it wasn't cruel. It was surprised, maybe even impressed. The next dish arrived. The glowing purple fruit. Kaylin leaned down, her voice low. Careful. That fruit is sacred. Eat it raw and its fire may kill you. You must prepare it. Alex blinked at the alien bowl. Prepare it with what? I don't even have a fork. Kaylin slid a blade toward him, so large it looked like a steel beam. Carve it. Boil it in the fire. Do as we do. Around him, warriors carved and tossed their fruit into bubbling cauldrons, chanting as the steam rose. Alex glanced at his tiny knife, then at the giant blade. He couldn't even lift the thing. The crowd jeered again. He cannot even hold a blade. Too small to be Cathari. Alex's mind raced. Then he smirked. Who needs a giant sword when you've got leverage? He dragged the fruit close, braced his knife against it, and jammed it under a rock. Using his weight, he pressed down until the tough skin cracked open with a loud pop. Juice sprayed across the ground, glowing like fire. The warriors stared. Alex grinned, wiping his face. Wow, see? Human solutions. Kaylin's eyes gleamed with pride. He dropped the pieces into the boiling pot, waiting as steam hissed into the night. When the fruit was finally ready, he pulled out a glowing piece with makeshift tongs, blew on it, and popped it into his mouth. For a moment, he thought he'd die. The heat seared his tongue. The flavor burned like molten sugar, and his stomach screamed. But he forced himself to chew, then swallowed with a grimace. He slammed his hand on the table again. Not bad. Could use salt, the Cathari erupted. Some laughed, some shouted, but all of them pounded their fists in rhythm, chanting his name. Human! 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 Alex sat back, dizzy, sweating, his stomach on fire. But he was alive. And more importantly, he had not been broken. Later, as the feast wound down, Kaylin carried him out of the circle, setting him gently on a smaller bench. She studied him with something new in her eyes, respect, even warmth. You did more than eat, she said. You showed them cleverness. You showed them pride. You gave them laughter in the face of doubt. That is the Cathari way. Alex groaned, clutching his stomach. Yeah, well, if this is the Cathari way, I'm going to need an alien-sized bottle of antacid. She chuckled softly, a rare sound from her. You endure. That is why you will survive. Alex leaned back, staring at the stars. He had only given her a compliment, but now he was bound to trials, tests, and traditions far beyond his understanding. Yet somehow, against all odds, he was starting to feel not just trapped. Maybe, just maybe, he was part of something. The Cathari didn't waste time. The morning after the feast, Alex was woken by the sound of war horns echoing through the valley. He stumbled out of the tent, still sore from bruises and with his stomach protesting last night's alien food. Kaylin was already armored, her copper hair braided, her golden eyes blazing with focus. She tossed him a leather harness barely his size. Today you hunt, Alex blinked. Hunt, like rabbits? Please say rabbits, her lips curved faintly. No, the Fire Fang. The warriors cheered at the name. Alex muttered, Of course, why not? Sounds friendly. The hunting party marched out of camp, their strides shaking the ground. Alex jogged beside Kaylin, every step like three of his own. The Cathari warriors carried massive spears and crossbows, their laughter booming as they talked of past hunts. Alex carried a small dagger Kalen had pressed into his hand. "This is insane," he whispered. Kalen glanced down at him. "You survived the rite, you survived the feast. Now you must survive the hunt. Only then will they accept you, and if I don't, then they'll bury what's left." Alex groaned. Great pep talk. By midday, they reached a canyon split by jagged stone. The ground was scorched black, as if fire itself had crawled across it. The Cathari spread out, scanning the shadows. Then the air shifted. Hot, heavy, dangerous. The fire fang emerged. It was larger than any beast Alex had ever seen, scales black as iron, with jaws glowing like molten coal. Fire steamed from its mouth and claws gouged trenches in the rock. The warriors roared in challenge. The fire fang answered with a blast of flame that lit the canyon in blazing orange. Alex dove for cover, clutching his tiny dagger. "This is not what I signed up for." The Cathari charged, their massive weapons clashing against scales. Sparks flew, the beast roared, fire scorched the ground. Kalen leapt high, her blade slicing across its eye, making it howl in rage. But Alex could see what they didn't. The fire fang's armor was too thick. Every strike bounced off, every spear shattered. They couldn't kill it with brute force. His mind raced. He scanned the battlefield, looking for something, anything that could give him a chance. Then he saw it. Jagged stone pillars above the canyon, cracks glowing faintly from the beast's fire. "Loose, unstable? Of course," he muttered. "If I can't stab the dragon, I'll drop the mountain on it." He sprinted along the edge of the canyon, dodging fire blasts, his lungs burning. Kalen spotted him and shouted, "Human! What are you doing?" "Trying not to die," he yelled back. He scrambled up the rocks, heart hammering. His hands blistered, his clothes scorched, but he climbed higher until he reached the weakened pillars. The fire fang roared below, snapping its burning jaws at the warriors. Alex pulled out his tiny dagger. It was laughable against scales, but against cracked stone, he jammed it into the fissures, hammering with all his weight. The rock groaned, shifted. "Come on," he gasped. "Just fall already." The fire fang reared back, preparing another blast of flame. The Cathari braced for the inferno. Alex slammed the hilt of the dagger one final time. The stone cracked. With a thunderous roar, the pillar collapsed, crashing down onto the fire fang's back. The beast shrieked as the rocks pinned it, its wings crushed, its flames sputtering. Kalen seized the chance, leaping high and driving her blade into its skull. The fire fang went still, smoke rising from its body. The canyon fell silent. Then the Cathari erupted in cheers. The human brought down the beast. He fights with cunning. Small but fierce. Alex slumped against the rocks, panting, his hair singed and his hands bleeding. "Yeah, totally part of the plan. No problem." Kalen strode to him, her armor scorched, her eyes blazing with pride. She crouched low, her massive hand lifting him gently from the rocks. "You did not strike the beast," she said, her voice firm but warm. "But without you, it would still live. You are no longer outsider. You are one of us," Alex groaned weakly. "Do I at least get a medal? Or maybe a bed and ice pack?" She chuckled softly. "You get honor. And my respect." Her golden eyes lingered on him longer than before. For the first time, Alex felt something shift. Not just duty, not just survival. Something more. That night, the Cathari feasted again, this time in Alex's honor. He sat beside Kalen, smaller than a child at her side, but no longer mocked. The warriors raised their cups to him, chanting his name. "Human! Human! Human!" Alex lifted his own tiny cup, smirking. "All this because of a compliment, huh?" "Figures." Kalen leaned down, her voice low enough only he could hear. "No, not because of words. Because you proved them true." Alex blinked, then smiled faintly. For once, he didn't argue. The morning after the hunt, the Cathari camp buzzed with talk. Everywhere Alex walked, giant warriors pointed, muttered, or smirked. Some clapped their hands on their chests in respect. Others spat in the dirt. Hands on their chests in respect. Others spat in the dirt. Kalen walked beside him, her long strides slow enough to match his pace. Her voice was low, calm, but there was tension in her eyes. "Not all are pleased you live. The hunt gave you honor, yes, but it also gave you enemies." Alex rubbed the back of his neck. "Yeah, I noticed the death glares. Guess saving their hides wasn't enough." "It is never enough," Kalen replied. That afternoon, the warriors gathered in the circle of judgment, an open space ringed by stone pillars. Drums beat as elders took their places, their white-marked armor signifying wisdom and rank. Alex stood awkwardly beside Kalen, craning his neck to see over shields taller than his body. From the far side of the circle, a giant stepped forward. He was broader than Kalen, his armor scarred from countless battles, his tusks gleaming sharp. His name was Theric, and his voice carried like thunder. "This is an insult," Theric boomed. "A human bound to a Cathari warrior? A weakling who clings to shadows and tricks? He is no warrior. He is no mate. He is nothing," the crowd murmured, some nodding, some frowning. Alex felt sweat bead on his neck. Kalen stepped forward, her voice sharp. "He spoke the words. He has faced the trials. He is bound," Theric sneered. "Bound or bewitched? I say the right was broken. I say he is unworthy. Let him prove himself, or let him be cast out." The elder in the center raised her staff. By tradition, a rival may challenge the bond. If the challenger prevails, the human is cast aside. If the bond holds, it cannot be questioned again. Theric's grin widened. "Then I challenge." Alex's jaw dropped. "Wait, what? You can't just—" Kalen crouched to his level, her hand brushing his shoulder. Her eyes were fierce, protective. "Do not fear. This is my fight. I will defeat him." But Theric laughed, the sound booming across the circle. "No, Lady Kalen. The human must fight. If he cannot stand for himself, he cannot stand for you." The crowd erupted. Some cheered the cruelty. Others shook their heads. Alex muttered under his breath, "Why do I open my mouth around aliens? Why?" The challenge was set for sundown. Alex had hours to prepare or panic. He chose panic. He paced in Kalen's tent, pulling at his hair. "This is insane. He's 3 times your size, which makes him like, 15 times my size? He'll crush me in seconds." Kalen knelt in front of him, her expression serious but calm. "You cannot match his strength. Do not try. You must do what you always do, endure, outsmart, surprise him." Alex laughed bitterly. "Surprise him? What, trip him with my shoelaces?" Her golden eyes softened. She leaned closer, her voice low. "You've already surprised me, human. Perhaps you'll surprise him too." Something in her tone made his chest tighten, but there was no time to think about it. Sundown came. The circle of judgment filled with warriors chanting in deep, rumbling unison. Fires lit the sky orange and red. Alex stood in the center, dagger in hand, feeling like a child in a nightmare. Theric entered opposite him, dragging a warhammer the size of a tree. The ground shook with every step. The elder raised her staff. "The bond is tested. Let the fight begin." Theric swung first, his hammer smashing into the dirt where Alex had stood seconds before. The shockwave sent him tumbling, ears ringing. "Run, little insect!" Theric roared. "Run until I squash you." Alex scrambled to his feet, dodging another blow. The crowd roared with laughter. He darted around, trying to stay ahead, his heart hammering. Kalen's words echoed in his head. "Do not match his strength. Outsmart him." His eyes darted across the circle. The ground was littered with dust, weapons from past duels, and the massive stone pillars around the ring. Cracks lined one pillar near Theric. Weak stone. Alex's mind clicked. He taunted, dodging closer to the pillar. "Hey, Tuskface! Over here!" Theric snarled, swinging his hammer with all his weight. Alex dove aside at the last second. The hammer smashed into the cracked pillar. Stone groaned, then collapsed with a thunderous crash, right onto Theric's leg. The giant roared, trapped under the rubble. His warhammer fell useless. Alex staggered to his feet, panting, and pressed his tiny dagger against Theric's chestplate. "Yield," he croaked, barely able to stand. Silence fell. Then, grudgingly, Theric slammed his fist against the ground. "I yield." The circle erupted, not with laughter this time, but shock and respect. The elder raised her staff. "The human has prevailed." "The bond stands!" Kalen rushed forward, scooping Alex up before he collapsed. Her voice was fierce as she faced the crowd. "You see? He is no weakling. He is mine, and I will hear no more doubt." The warriors pounded their fists in rhythm, chanting again. "Human, human." Alex, half-conscious in Kalen's arms, groaned. "I hate this tradition." She smiled faintly, cradling him close. "And yet you keep surviving it." The camp was quieter after the duel. Alex had earned respect. Though bruised, limping, and with a cracked rib, he felt anything but victorious. Still, for the first time since speaking those cursed words, he noticed the way warriors no longer laughed when he walked past. Some nodded. Others saluted with a fist to their chest. Kalen carried him back to her tent that night, setting him gently onto a bed of woven hides. He tried to sit up but winced in pain. She pressed him down with one enormous finger. Rest, human. You have done enough, he smirked weakly. Enough? Pretty sure I'm about 3 concussions past enough. For the first time, she laughed softly. It wasn't mocking, it was warm, almost musical. Alex blinked, stunned. He'd never heard her laugh before. You are strange, she said, studying him. Small, fragile, foolish. And yet you keep rising, even when you should fall. Her golden eyes lingered on him, and Alex felt heat rise in his cheeks. He coughed, looking away. Well, where I come from, we've got a saying, stubbornness is our superpower. Days passed. Alex healed slowly, Kaylin never far from his side. She brought him food, taught him Cathari words, even laughed at his clumsy attempts to mimic their battle chants. At night they sat by the fire, her massive frame casting shadows over him, and she told stories of Cathari wars and victories. But sometimes, when the fire burned low, she grew quiet. Her gaze turned distant, almost sad. One night Alex asked, "Do you ever regret it? The right, being stuck with me?" Kaylin looked down at him, her face unreadable. Then she shook her head. No, at first I thought it a mistake. But you have shown me strength not of body but of heart. Perhaps the right knew better than I did. Her words struck deeper than he expected. Alex smiled faintly. Careful, Kaylin. That almost sounded like another compliment. And we know where those get me. She chuckled. Do not worry, human. You have already spoken the only one that mattered. The peace did not last. At dawn, horns blared from the watchtowers. Kaylin was on her feet instantly, armor gleaming as she strode from the tent. Alex followed, clutching his side, heart pounding. From the ridge above the camp, dust rose in the distance. Shapes emerged, rows of armored figures, not Cathari, but outsiders. Their banners bore the crest of the Crimson Syndicate, mercenaries who sold death to the highest bidder. The Cathari warriors assembled, weapons ready. The ground shook as the syndicate halted at the valley's edge. Their leader stepped forward, his armor sleek and crimson, his face hidden behind a black mask. His voice carried like steel. We come for the human, he declared. Hand him over and we leave in peace. Refuse and we burn this camp to ash. The crowd erupted in rage. Warriors shouted, brandished weapons. Alex froze, his blood running cold. Kaylin stepped forward, her voice sharp as a blade. You will not touch him. He is bound by the right, he is Cathari. The leader laughed, the sound hollow. Cathari law means nothing to us. He is a weakness, and where there is weakness we strike, Alex whispered. Why me? What do they want with me? Strike, Alex whispered. Why me? What do they want with me? Kaylin's eyes narrowed. Because you are different, and because they fear what difference can become. The syndicate advanced, weapons humming with energy. The Cathari braced, their war cries rising to shake the air. Kaylin turned to Alex, her hand resting gently, almost protectively on his shoulder. Stay close to me. No matter what happens, his voice was unsteady. Kaylin, if I die, this is going to feel like the dumbest compliment in history. She smiled faintly, even in the face of battle. If you die, human, I will make them regret ever hearing your words. The two sides clashed. Energy bolts lit the sky. Steel rang against steel. War cries and screams filled the air. Kaylin tore through syndicate soldiers like a storm, her blade flashing. Alex ducked and dodged, surviving more by luck and instinct than skill. But when a syndicate soldier broke through the line, weapon raised toward him, Alex acted without thinking. He grabbed a fallen spear far too heavy for him, wedged it into the ground, and let the charging soldier impale himself upon it. The warrior collapsed, and Alex stared wide-eyed, chest heaving. Kaylin's voice thundered across the battlefield. See, even small blades can cut deep. Hours later, the syndicate retreated, their leader swearing vengeance as they vanished into the dust. The Cathari cheered, raising their weapons in victory. Alex slumped against a rock, bloodied but alive. Kaylin knelt beside him, her massive hand steadying his trembling frame. You fought, she said softly. Not with size, not with strength, but with heart. Alex managed a weak grin. Guess stubbornness really is my superpower. Her eyes softened, her voice low. Perhaps it is more than that. Perhaps it is why I... She stopped, her words trailing into silence. Alex looked up at her, breath catching. For a moment, the battlefield, the war, the chaos, all of it faded. There was only Kaylin's golden gaze and the bond between them that no law or tradition could explain. The camp still bore scars from the syndicate's attack. Burned ground, shattered weapons, wounded warriors. But the Cathari spirits remained unbroken. They had survived. Alex limped through the camp, his ribs still aching, his hands raw from gripping weapons far too big for him. Everywhere he went, warriors saluted him now, some with admiration, others with quiet respect. But he knew it wasn't over. Neither did Kaylin. She sat sharpening her blade by the fire, golden eyes reflecting the flames. When Alex approached, she looked up, her expression steady but grim. "They will return," she said. Alex sighed, sitting on a rock nearby. "Yeah, figured. Bad guys don't usually quit after one butt-kicking." She tilted her head, curious. "Butt-kicking?" He smirked. "Earth term. Means we beat them. At least for now." Her lips curved faintly, but her gaze soon hardened again. "When they return, they will bring more. They will come for you," Alex swallowed. "So what, you think I should leave? Run?" Kaylin's hand stilled on her blade. "Would you?" He hesitated. Then he shook his head. "No, because if I run, they'll just keep coming. And because you'd be here." Fighting alone, her golden eyes softened. For a moment, silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken truth. The next dawn, the horns sounded again. Dust rose on the horizon, thicker this time. The Crimson Syndicate had returned, larger, deadlier, their army stretching across the valley. The Cathari lined the cliffs, shields raised, weapons gleaming. Their chants shook the ground, a wall of sound defying fear. Alex stood beside Kaylin, dagger in hand, feeling small but resolute. The Syndicate leader's voice thundered across the battlefield. "We warned you. The human is ours. Hand him over, or every Cathari here will burn." Kaylin stepped forward, her voice like thunder. "Then burn with us. But know this, you will never take him." She pointed her blade toward the enemy. "He is Cathari." "He is mine," the warriors roared, pounding their chests. "Human, human!" Alex blinked, stunned. They weren't mocking him anymore. They were claiming him. The battle began with fire raining from Syndicate cannons. Explosions shook the cliffs, smoke filled the air. The Cathari charged, their massive frames crashing into enemy lines. Kaylin fought like a storm, her blade a whirlwind of steel. Alex stayed close, weaving through chaos, his size suddenly an advantage. He darted under legs, tripped soldiers, jammed knives into armor gaps. Where the giant struck with power, he struck with precision. But then the Syndicate leader himself entered the fray. His crimson armor glowed, his energy blade crackling. He cut down Cathari warriors with terrifying ease, his masked gaze fixed on Alex. The human. Weakness made flesh. He lunged, Alex barely dodged, the blade slicing the ground where he'd stood. Kaylin intercepted, her sword clashing against his, sparks flying. The two titans battled, each strike shaking the earth, but the leader was strong, too strong. He forced Kaylin back, knocking her to her knees. Alex's heart pounded. He couldn't match this monster's strength, but maybe he didn't have to. Scanning the battlefield, Alex spotted a half-buried Syndicate cannon, its barrel still glowing faintly. Broken but not dead, he sprinted toward it, ignoring the chaos around him. His fingers flew over the alien controls, guessing, improvising, cursing under his breath. The leader raised his blade for the final strike on Kaylin. "Hey, tin can!" Alex shouted. The leader turned just as Alex slammed his hand down on the trigger. The cannon roared, a blast of searing energy striking the leader square in the chest. His armor cracked, glowing red, and with a scream he fell to the ground. Kaylin rose, driving her blade through his mask, ending it. The battlefield fell silent. Then the Cathari roared in victory. The Syndicate broke, fleeing into the dust. Exhausted, Alex stumbled. Kaylin caught him in her massive hand, lifting him gently to her shoulder. Her voice was quiet, filled with something new. "You saved me," he grinned weakly. "Guess we're even now." Her golden eyes softened, and for the first time she lowered her forehead until it touched his. A Cathari gesture of deepest bond. "No, we are more than even." "We are more than duty." Alex's chest tightened. He whispered, "All this from one compliment." She smiled faintly. "Then may you never stop speaking them." That night, the Cathari celebrated their greatest victory. But for Alex and Kaylin, the war drums were only background noise. They sat by the fire together, closer than ever. No longer bound by accident, no longer chained by tradition, they had chosen each other. And for the first time, Alex realized, maybe this wasn't a mistake at all. Maybe this wasn't a mistake at all.